Vem är du?
Jag är döden.
Kommer du för att hämta mig?
Jag har redan länge gått vid din sida.
Det vet jag.
Är du beredd?
Min kropp är rädd. Inte jag själv.
Is it better to be loved for being something you are not, or to be hated for being who and what you truly are? This is a question that may not have any true answers at all. However, Swiss psychiatrist and philosopher Carl Jung may have had an answer to this. Throughout the early 20th century, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung were two leading theorists in psychoanalysis. And in their time spent as collaborators, and as Freud mentored Jung, they developed theory regarding the subconscious mind, and a lot of that theory still retains its pertinence today. And although this duo was not meant to last, Freud's impacts on Jung were undeniable, and the ideas that Jung would continue to develop throughout the remainder of his career in psychology would be nothing if not groundbreaking. So the main purpose of today's video is to deepen our understanding of these Jungian archetypes and make them practically applicable to our own lives. Specifically, we're going to talk about the persona, the self, as well as the shadow. These three ideas may help us answer the question at hand. First and foremost, the persona. This is a mask that we wear in front of other people. This is one aspect to our question, but nonetheless, it's still a surface level understanding of who we are, and in many ways, their persona allows us to be loved for being something that we're not. Now, the mask isn't an inherently bad thing. It's appropriate to wear a mask or a facade in certain social situations, depending upon how you need to act. You wouldn't talk to your boss the same way that you would talk to a partner. You wouldn't talk to your mom the way that you talk to your best friend. But even keeping certain context in mind, it's important that we don't let our mask overwhelm who we are as a person, our deeper inner workings. We cannot let our mask consume us and overtake our self-belief of who we are as a person. Now, most importantly is the shadow. Now, this is the aspect of our subconscious mind, and in theory, it actually has no limits, but it does define the limits of our mask and ourself. Now, why use imagery like the one that's on the screen at the moment and the one at the beginning of the video? Well, because confrontation of our shadow is much like confrontation of death. The feelings that can come about can be incredibly negative and incredibly powerful to confront. Facing our shadow and facing who we are as a person subconsciously is an incredibly difficult process, and one that will come with a lot of discomfort. Much like the movie being used at the beginning video and still being used now in this clip, it's much like confronting the face of death. But it's incredibly important that we do face our shadow, and if we don't, we risk losing ourselves entirely, whether we realize it or not. To show an example of how difficult and uncomfortable it can be for us to face our subconscious thoughts, here's an example of one of Jung's patients.
And I said, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? So I stormed out. And you got what I said there. I said to him, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? That was the trigger point. I was gone for a year. And I wrote him, oh, I don't know. Every now and then I'd sit down at the typewriter and write him what a son of a bitch I thought he was. How when I first got to Europe, everyone thought he was a charlatan. I thought he was too.
So you see there, the patient admits it themselves. They've been triggered by something that Jung said, and they're not even consciously aware as to why. They're having an emotional reaction, but she clearly cannot pinpoint why. But what she says next and Jung's response to it is incredibly important for our understanding of the shadow.
And one morning I woke up and I began to laugh. I thought, for God's sake, what's been going on here? What a jackass you. And suddenly I realized, sure, he really hit it. And so I phoned Miss Schmidt, Fräulein Schmidt, and asked if I could have an appointment. And she laughed and said, oh, yes, she said, Professor Jung told me to save some time for you. He thought you'd be calling shortly.
See, Jung wants us to understand that what we are consciously aware of is not the full picture of who we are. There are darker and deeper elements to us that cause us to react with certain emotions and actions. In this instance, the woman reacts with anger, and when she's called out for it by Jung, she storms out of the room, not even seemingly consciously aware that by her doing that, she is fully proving Jung's point. Although he knows it's difficult, Jung wants us to understand and come to terms with the fact that we have deeper elements to ourselves, and these not might just be small weaknesses and foibles, as he puts it, but a demonic dynamism, something deeper, more ingrained. Like a Jekyll and Hyde, we have elements to ourselves that we might not necessarily like. So how can we actually practically apply this to our own lives? Well, it's important that we are able to approach our shadow with this all bared in mind, so we don't have to feel the same level of discomfort we might otherwise feel. That way we can look more like this. Positive attitude and an understanding that any discomfort or negative emotions we might feel are only ultimately going to help us become the full version of the self that we need to be. And when I refer to the self, I refer to the Jungian archetype of the self. And this whole concept of shadow work would be what is referred to by Jung as self-actualization or self-realization. Now, I know I gave the example of Jekyll and Hyde and talked about the demonic dynamism and even compared the shadow to death itself at multiple points in the video, including 30 seconds ago. I want to make it clear that your shadow isn't this evil side to yourself, and it's not something to be terrified of, and it's not something that's going to cause you immense pain. You are not evil. You do not have this deep, dark Machiavellian side to yourself, or at least I hope not. Although confrontation of the shadow is incredibly difficult, it is inevitable, and if we want to live the fullest life possible, we have to be able to do it. It's not at all something to be feared. When you start to confront the emotions and the events of your past, everything that has shaped you into a person, even when you're not consciously aware of it, you start to expand your comfort zone and push yourself towards new experiences that you otherwise never would have been able to have. Let's use an example of going to the gym and attempting a weight you've never attempted before, something I'm quite a fan of. Both consciously and unconsciously, you are afraid. You have racking nerves and adrenaline because you're uncertain of the outcome, whether you're truly going to be able to lift the amount of weight that you have on a bar. Consciously, you're afraid because you know you've never hit this number before. Subconsciously, your body is reacting and causing an adrenaline rush. But if you do your self-actualization work, if you have a better understanding of where these desires you have to lift this weight come from, where this fear that you have to lift this weight comes from, you can set yourself up to have a better chance of calming your mind or potentially achieving the task at hand. When we have this full understanding and appreciation of who we are, consciously and subconsciously, we can put ourselves in better situations to succeed, and not only that, once we're in said situations, we can have a better chance of a better outcome. So to answer my question from the beginning of the video, it is absolutely better to be who you truly are, even if that means being hated for it. But in order to understand who you truly are, you have to understand yourself both consciously and subconsciously. Alright, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to take something away from it. I know I took a lot of information away through studying Jung, and I still have a lot more to learn. If you have any insights, comment down below. Like the video if you liked the video. If you disliked the video, please dislike the video and let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.